Welcome to Talk with CK, your cozy corner for heartfelt conversation. My name is CK. In this space, we explore the beautiful, messy, and inspiring journey of growing up. Each week, I sit down with a friend as we share stories about the struggles that shaped us, the lesson that changed us, and the small moments of pride that made us who we are today. And today I have a guest that I've been dying to talk to. He approached me first, and then now we are new friends. Hi, Colin.
Hello. I'm CK's fans for his YouTube channel Psychology because I love to watch people eat.
Oh, thank you, Colin. Thank you so much for following me. Colin, you are calling from Melbourne, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But you are originally from the state of Kedah. You were born in Kedah.
Yep. I was born in Kedah, but I grew up in Perlis. And Penang is kind of like my second home in a way.
Can I ask which city in Kedah?
Alostar. I was born in Alostar. I think the place I was born is called the Clinic Pom Pom. Ooh, it's a pom pom clinic.
And then you grew up in Perlis.
Yeah. Because my parents, they are originally from Perlis. And then our family home in Perlis. And I got 3 other siblings who studied in Penang. So on the weekend, my dad used to drive us to Penang and spend a weekend there.
Wow. Was it Kanga or Kuala Perlis or?
Kanga. That's where you featured before. Yeah.
Yes. I remember.
You know
Kanga.
what? Actually, the reason why I love your content on psychology is because you talk about the history of the state. And then you talk about the story of the food. So you are not just go there and taste the food. There are stories behind it, which I appreciate a lot.
And I always feel, I told people when I've never been to Perlis before that. And then because of the pandemic and I was doing this channel. So then I went to Perlis. I stayed there for almost 2 weeks plus.
In Perlis?
Yes, almost 2 weeks plus I stayed there. The reason was there was a bun. There was a bun that I want to feature. And that particular bun, you have to call and pre-order. The bun was, I think, Padang Besar was very near the Thai border.
No, it's Kaki Bukit.
Kaki Bukit, yes. It's a Chinese community. Surprise. And I had to order the bun. And it only you can only order 3 days before. And so I had to order it. I have to call the person. And of course, I have to go there and take it.
But I have a secret to tell you though. The shop is called Guan Mei.
Yes, Guan Mei Ban. Yes.
They, the Tao Ke So, she is actually my mom's cousin. And her daughter is same age as me, and her daughter is in Melbourne, and then we catch up regularly. So it's a small world.
What a small world, because
it is.
Of that bun. And everywhere people ask me what was the most difficult to shoot, I would always say that bun, because I had to call and I have to drive all the way there. And I remember it was the rainy season, so it was pouring rain when I got there. And then, of course, I got the shot and everything. And I was very thankful that I got to eat the bun. But I thought, oh my God, this is such an effort to shoot. But tell us more about growing up in Perlis.
I grew up in a suburb, we call it the Taman, the residential area. And I got a really good childhood, I suppose. I'm very lucky because since I was young, I kind of know what my passion is. And then I don't really care what people think about me. And my mom also worry about my result at school, academic result. But since I was young, I love music. And my original dream is to become a classical musician. And a lot of people didn't know about that. I love to play the piano. I self-taught myself to play the piano when I was 4 years old.
OMG.
And so my childhood, I have 4 other siblings. I'm the youngest. I suppose is, an accident. I think that's before the color TV came out. Mom was busy. Dad was busy. That's pretty much my childhood, really. I went to school. School is just behind our place, and same as secondary school.
Overall, people on those days had a good childhood because we can roam the streets for hours, and then we only come back for lunch or for dinner. And, the parents weren't obsessed with our security. They let us roam free and stuff. And these days, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, we got to ride to school on the bike and then just play in the paddy fields, catching fish all sort of things, went for camping with friends for 3 days.
Mm,
Mom never worry. And
never worried. Yeah.
the only thing my
Yeah.
mom's always worried is my academic result. I used
Of
to love
every
to,
Chinese parents.
yeah. I used to love to play the piano. I hate sport until today. I hate sport. I hate going to the gym, but I still go to the gym because I need to lose some weight sometimes. But other than that, yeah, music was my world. And since I was a kid, I also like to write. But my language skill is really bad. I'm not a good person to speak. Usually, I'm not very good with my words, but I love writing. My Malay teacher and also my English tuition teacher, Karim and Mr. Tang, they always encourage me to write. They think I have like a good creative writing skill. And I'm a talkative person in class. I'm humorous, and I have a lot of friends when I was a kid and throughout until I finished my high school.
Then from Perlis to Melbourne, what did you
Mm.
study in Melbourne?
After finishing high school, I always thought I'm going to study music. But then one evening, my sister came because my mom was like, "Oh, you should study IT." In the late 90s, everyone going for IT. But I always wanted to study music. My dad approved me to study music. But one day, my sister came in the room when I was about to go to bed and say, "Dad is getting older. If you study music, you come out with no job." So I just changed my path and decided to go to study graphic design at Lim Kok Weng in KL. And yeah, I'm a Lim Kok Weng kid. And after the first year studying foundation, and I discovered that they have a course called multimedia design. And I was like, what the heck is multimedia design? And then what changed my mind is when I saw the other senior students making music video, I'm like, damn, you can do music and video at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, sort of going back to the music path. And
Mm-hmm.
I told my mom and say, "Oh, I want to change to multimedia." Mom is like, "What the heck is multimedia?" I say, "Oh, something to do with web design." So it's kind of like an IT thing. And my mom said, "Okay." But she didn't know I actually changed the course. She thought I was just joking. I think she only found out after I graduated that I didn't study graphic design, but multimedia design. So that sort of make me fall in love with filmmaking because filmmaking for me is similar to creating music. You have the kind of storytelling elements in it. And I was very lucky because during my diploma year at Lim Kok Weng, I made a short film called An Interview with a Swimming Pool. It's about a short film is about two friendships, two boys who were kind of like enemy and then became friends later. And that was my final year project for my diploma. And it was shot in a really dodgy DV tape back in the days. Roughly cut together some music and then some storyline. And then, but my lecturer back then really appreciated the film, and then he decided to take it for a competition called Malaysian Video Awards. And it was an open category, which I didn't know.
Wow.
And after that, I worked for 3 months in KL and I moved to Australia to study my degree. And then when I got to Melbourne and I got an email from my lecturer saying, "You won the awards." Okay. And realized that it was Yasmin Ahmad who sort of picked my film. I remember she left a very good, like a note saying, the storytelling is so interesting that something that she never thought about or something like that along the line. And then from there on, I'm like, okay, I want to focus on filmmaking. So for my degree as well, even though I'm doing multimedia design, I have to do all kind of assignments, but the final year project, I focus on filmmaking. So the final year project, I made a music video for a local musician here in Melbourne. Her name is Sunray. And then it was more like a classical contemporary music. It was 6 minutes long, very long for a music video, but I made it. And then turned out to be, I was the only person who get 100 marks out of my assignment, my final year. I was like a top student.
I feel like you excel when it comes to the creative stuff, but you also self-taught architecture, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So the architecture, I wouldn't say like I'm a prolific or someone qualified to talk about architecture. That sort of came later. But when I was a kid, one of my dreams is to become an architect as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I got many dreams back in the days. But I think I have I'm an obsessive person. If I want to do something, I'll make sure I'll do until I succeed. So
Mm.
that's kind of like my attitude in life. Architectures came Later, when I bought an apartment in Melbourne after a few years working here, after the 2008 financial crisis and the property here, the price increased a lot. And then I couldn't buy the one bedroom apartment, which I was planning for. And I decided to buy a studio apartment off plan. When the apartment finished, I walked in, it wasn't exactly looked like in the pamphlet. And I was like, shit, there's 30 years of, home loan to pay. And I decided to totally take everything out and restart and redesign the apartment. That's when I'm thinking to hire an architect or interior designer to help me and realize how expensive they are in Australia.
Sure. Yeah, you live in
And
Australia. Everything is
yeah,
expensive when it comes to
yeah.
human capital.
Even to throw rubbish here, it costs a lot.
Yeah. So you
And
did it yourself since then?
I got builders to come in and help me remove the tiles. And then I asked the builder to teach me how to install timber flooring. So I pay him $6,000. That's a lot of money, just including throwing the tiles away. And then when he's $6,000 up, he left everything for me to finish. But then that time I was thinking like, how can I design my apartment better? So I went on YouTube, I went on Instagram, trying to find inspiration and thought maybe I can do better than a lot of YouTube videos out there, filming architecture. Thinking, well, with my filmmaking skill, maybe I could make YouTube videos and then interview architects at the same time, get some free advice from them and lessons. That's why I decided to create a YouTube channel called Never Too Small. That was 2017 when I started the first episode.
Let me introduce you to a YouTuber who has more than 3 million subscribers. Colin's channel is called Never Too Small. And I am so obsessed with this channel. I want to know more about how you started this.
It's difficult. The first time because I know I'm going to start in Melbourne, I didn't have the money to travel. So all I did was to look at trying to Google all the architecture firms and then look at, if they have any small apartment projects that I could feature. So I think I emailed about 20 architects and only 2 came back to me. And one ghosted me after one, email correspondence. And then only one stayed with me. His name is Ben Edwards from Studio Edwards. And then he called me and said, why do you want to make this YouTube channel? I said, oh, because I bought this apartment. It's really shit, I was really honest with him. I said, but it's important as well because I think a lot of people like me, buying shit apartment in Melbourne and don't know what to do with it. And then he said, let's do it. It was so easy. And then turned out to be, say, oh, I can let you access the apartment, but I can only be there for 2 hours. And then I was like, okay, but can I stay for 4 hours? So after you do the interview, I can do some filming. So the first episode was really quick. I just prepared a list of questions and then off I went and interviewed him with another colleague of mine. Yeah.
But it took off. Your first video, it was 7 years ago, 1.3 million views. I don't know any YouTuber who has hit 1 million mark on the first video. Why do you think it took off?
I put my first video and then I did 3 more, so 4 in totals. The second episode, I was like, oh, maybe I should try to sort of profile a miniature artist. So it's a sculptor, but she's also an architect. But the third episode is another micro apartment in Melbourne, in Fitzroy. And then the fourth was a tiny house and on wheels. And then I made 4 episodes. I'm thinking, okay, I've done enough. Let's see where it goes. But then I'm thinking on YouTube or from my experience as a filmmaker, I'm thinking if you are not telling people you make your videos, nobody's going to know about it. YouTube's not going to help you push it. So what I did was I write email to the big publications, say, hey, here's my videos. If you guys want to use it, feel free to use it. And then especially the third episode, which is an apartment designed by Nick Agius. I don't know what's wrong with my light. Just keep turning on and off. Maybe
No worry. That was a Melbourne apartment in a toolbox micro apartment. I don't even know what that means.
But that means you can open and close the kitchen like a toolbox. Yeah. So you have yellow kitchens that can open and close.
Yes. I really like that kitchen. The yellow was beautiful.
I was lucky because when I approached him, I found him on his website through Google. And then he said, oh, his apartment never been featured anywhere before. So I was like the first person to do it. So I emailed a lot of publications. And then it was Tree Hugger in Canada, another publication. they use my videos to accompany the articles when they write about the property. And I think that's when it took off. So after 4 episodes for 5 months, I didn't do any video. And then 5 months later, my ex-boss, which is James McPherson, he said, hey, you should continue making them because seems like there are people watching it. And then I said, okay. And then I did a few more. And then from when you interview architects, they usually have a lot of stories to tell you. And then from there, they also introduce you to another apartment they know of. And that's where I get the connection to pinpoint me to other cool apartments. And then from one of the episodes, he pinpointed me to another architect. His name is Jack Chan, Taiwanese born Australian. He designed his own homes on episode 10 called Type Street, which is a 32 square meters. That one, actually the first one to went viral. Between episode 1 to episode 10, we gained 60,000 subscribers. There was like suddenly a peak. From there on, I take it more seriously, using my weekends producing videos. On episode 24, which is a micro apartment in Sydney designed by Brad Swartz. That one went super viral. I think until today we have about 14 million views. And that's when James was like saying, maybe you should take this one seriously and set up a company, for Never Too Small. But the money we made from YouTube back in the days, I use it to travel. It's not going to cover the cost. People do not know how expensive to make videos. People do not know how much time it involves to make a single video for YouTube. But back in the days, I didn't post regularly. When I have a video, I will post. Sometimes there's a 2 months break. And then the audience would be like angry and say, where's your next video? And yeah, that's kind of give me the push saying, oh, maybe I should do more. Yeah.
I have so many questions, Collins, because I keep watching your video because
Yeah.
it's usually like 5, 6, 7 minutes, very easy to watch. I watch so many of them. Now, I personally think it's getting popular because people cannot afford big houses anymore. And the sizes is shrinking, of course. And I think that's one of them. What do you think are the number one most important element in terms of designing a small space with all that you've known?
If you asked me about 5 years ago, I would give you what architects would say: lighting, ventilations, and then choosing the right furniture, choosing the right paint. But nowadays, as I learn more and visited a lot of homes and to learn about how people live in a space, I realized that a home is so much more than design. Design should sort of allow you to express what you want in a space. But a lot of time, like in the early days for Never Too Small, we featured a lot of architecturally designed spaces with moving walls, folding beds, a table that you can pack away easily. But those are the things that 5 years ago, the way I look at design so differently now. To learn about how people live in the space, we have to think about who actually live in the space. A lot of the time we're thinking about like the mentality of Australian, we all love a big house. The average size of in Australia is about 215 square meters. There's about 2,300 square feet. It's huge. But for Malaysia, for us, it's like 100 square meters, that's like more than double. But then if you look at the populations, 1 in 4 Australian live by themselves. There's a high numbers. And but then to think about who's actually going to live in smaller compact apartment, they are mostly like younger people who still chasing their dream, or older people who wants to be independent after their kids left them, they want to downsize. So these are the highest numbers, right? And then the most is you have young couples before they get married. So when you learn to know about these people, you know that when they all have different needs. So what makes the design of the apartments important for compact spaces for apartment is floor plan for me. If you get the floor plan right, floor plan.
Okay.
Yeah, you get the floor plan right, the rest will flow. Yeah, lighting and ventilations, everything is important. But then, when you get those right, you get the floor plan wrong, you can't fix it. Because lighting and ventilation, you can fix it for me quite easily.
Australia, people want to bring the cost down. For instance, not having car anymore. What do you think are some of the things people can do to, let's say, bring down their electricity bill, water bill? I know you had a lot of episodes and people featuring how they do that. Can you share with us?
Affordability is what makes people kind of live in compact spaces. There are some people make their choices to live in compact spaces because of what the city has to offer to them. But then if you live in a compact homes in, let's say, the countryside, it probably wouldn't bring you as much
I see.
benefits. But then for us, for Never Too Small, we are very much focused on urban design. Occasionally, rarely, we would feature some cabin in the woods, holiday houses, but that one is more like inspiration through design and colors. But for
Right.
functionality and also for living arrangement, we are focusing on urban area. And then, of course, when you live in compact spaces, it's much easier to heat up, it's much easier to cool it down. And then, of course, you will use less energy in general. That also leads to more sustainable way of future urban living. It's for sure, because it's hit a big house, you need a big bill. But then there's a lot more, like the way people design modern apartment buildings now, the developments, is that they're including double glazing if you live in the Four Seasons countries. Double glazing sort of don't want the heat to escape in winter, and then also to cool you down in summer. But then the other way is if you are living in like an older apartment, which is all built with bricks, it gets really cold in winter. That's why
Right.
we see some examples, some homes that we visit, the architects or the designers, they are using different kind of insulations to sort of put in their walls, sort of to preserve the energy. So your room doesn't get too heated or too cold. So there are many ways to do it. That's one of the ways to do it. Yeah.
We are both Chinese Malaysian,
Yeah.
which brings me to my next question. I'm a huge believer in feng shui. I remember buying my first condo in KL, and I hired this feng shui master to see the stuff. So I remember everything he taught me. And when I bought my second condo, I didn't need him anymore. So I didn't Google, but I absorbed everything he said. Now, what about you? Are you a big believer in that perspective? Or do you think it's all crap? What do you think?
I believe in flow, not so
Yeah.
much in a way of feng shui, like putting crystal here or putting fish tank there. Because if you are not a fish person, you've put a fish tank there, it become a huge responsibility for you.
So what do you mean by flow?
Like the flow is understanding yourself, especially in compact spaces, right?
Mm,
For example, when like being Asian here, we don't wear shoes at home.
mm,
A lot of modern apartment nowadays is you open it, the first thing you see is the kitchen, especially in
mm,
Australia or Western
mm,
countries. So how do we create a kind of, when you walk in, there's a space to put your shoes easily, take off your shoes,
mm,
and then put it under the cabinet. So when you choose a cabinet, make sure you choose the one with the legs. So it has a
mm,
little space for you just to push your shoes in there, your regular shoes. And then that one for me is a flow. And also understanding what your lifestyle is. For example, if you are someone who likes hosting, have friends over all the time, and maybe you can have expandable tables that you can sit more people, but when you only by yourself or with your partner, you can shrink it back to the size so you have more flow. And then choosing the right furniture is also flow for me. If you have a square dining area, choose the round one. It's so much easier for you to move around.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's for me, that's part of feng shui. I don't have like exactly the precision of feng shui knowledge, but when I go into a homes, I know how it flows. I look at the floor plan. For me, if the person is happy, they hit the right feng shui for them. Yeah.
I understand what you mean, because sometimes you walk into someone's house and you feel like it's very awkward. Like there's a corner here, and then there's too many corners, and then suddenly there's a book rack, and the flow is like, oh, suddenly you cannot smoothly walk into and then go to the kitchen, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And that's all to do with really arrangement of your furniture and a bit of a lighting as well. And some spaces you walk in, you feel so comfortable. You can just sit at the sofa and then the conversation start flowing.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
what we Chinese people said, the good luck is starting to pour in because people feel well, people feel happy. One of the things I learned from that feng shui master, which I found very logical, is try not to eat in the restaurant too much. Try always to eat in your dining area. Because the more you eat together with your family, the more you invite friends and eat together. If it's a good conversation, if it's a productive conversation, then you will take in the knowledge, and then you will do more stuff and more luck and more prosperity. That I believe. So he said the dining table is like your bank account. The more you use it, you don't have to cook you're at home, but you invite friends, have a good time, and friends exchange ideas. That I sort of like think, oh yeah, dining table is very like I would never like sort of do a good dining space, but that's what I learned.
It could be because when you have friends over, you have to clean up your place. So you create like a better environment for yourself. I don't know. And you could be more house proud. So it makes you feel good. So you become more productive. So when you're productive, you become more rich.
Like when you get the feeling when you walk into someone's house and this house has not have a guest for like a million like a long time. It feels eerie, it feels cold, there's no human warmth in it. You just feel it. And that I think that's what the feng shui master is trying to tell me. Like, bring friends home, bring your family home. You can always call in food delivery, but eat at home and then eat in your dining table and make your dining table like the center of your wealth and treat it like as a place where you exchange ideas, closer relationship with your friends and family. And when you have that good relationship, then whatever you do, it will grow. That's what I feel like. What are the most creative design you've seen? Like, can you give us some example? The most creative one, like, wow, this is so easy to do, doesn't cost a lot of money, and yet so effective to the whole place, the floor plan, as you said.
I have to say I've been very lucky to have the work that I do now, and it become a passion. It's a lot of work. Like, people do not know how much work
It
we have
is.
to do in studio. And also not only we do videos, but we also publish books and magazines every 3 months, the quarterly
Mm,
magazines, and the work adds up. We all wear many hats in our company, but also
organization.
we are so forever grateful that architects trust us with the stories, let us to go and film the apartment and put it on
Mm,
YouTube, because it needs courage. You know how sometimes, social media can be very cruel place sometimes.
yeah.
But
Oh,
then to
tell me
have
about
them
it.
to trust us to tell the story and then to put it on, internet is, for us, we are forever grateful for that. And then, but at the same time, every time when I go to a homes or talking to an architect, no matter how many architects I talk to, when you think you know everything about design, I feel like I don't know anything about design.
Mm,
Like, for example, recently I went to Amsterdam, and then this couple, they are in the autistic spectrum, and they are not architects. They taught me how important textures and colors for them. And
why?
then apparently he say, for people in the spectrum, colors just mean something so important for them. It gives them very different feeling of safety and happiness.
As compared to us usual people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also texture, like when they choose the sofa, they have to choose the right texture. And then when they choose the kitchen countertop, they have to choose the right texture. When they touch, they feel okay. So they go into that
Yeah.
details. And then
Yeah.
after that, I was so intrigued. I went back to the hotel room and I start searching for what color means for people in spectrum. And I realized that pink actually make them feel safe, pink and lilac. And then, but yeah, that's what it says, but I don't know how accurate it is. And then muted color like olive green, it makes them feel grounded. And then I reflects back saying, oh, I should have asked that question. Is that why they painted the pink of the stairs pink? But he told
Mm,
me the stair was white before, but then because of the reflection of the sunlight, they couldn't see it. So he fell down. So he decided to paint it
mm.
pink. I say, is that it painted pink so it feels safer? The question is starting to rise. And also to see there's so much more. And also to learn about another architects. When I thought in the compact homes, everything you own need to serve a purpose. But then the other architect teach me, no, you don't have to. Sometimes in a compact home, you put completely useless objects or furniture, it actually makes you feel better. You
Oh.
know, it makes you feel your home is more generous in a way because you have a space for useless stuff. And then they teach you how to use color, brown and red. Usually we wouldn't put those color together, but it works. Green and purple, it works. So when you think about, design, you don't. What makes me feel like never too small benefit for a lot of people is that during COVID time, we all wear masks, but somehow this this NTS audience recognized me. And then he said his wife and him, they both live in the city for 12 years in Melbourne. Since their son was born, now their son is 12. They think the 2-bedroom apartment is too small for them because they have a lot of things. But then they watch one of the video, the project that we filmed in Melbourne, which is, it has a floor to ceiling storage, like wardrobe and bookcases, and then they hide it with a curtain. So behind the curtain is all storage. So this guy adopt the same idea and went to IKEA and bought the Billy bookcases and the IKEA curtain rail. So he's using the same idea, but he's executed within his budget using IKEA.
Sure.
So, and then he also changed his dining set to lower because he used to have a more chunky dining set. He said that totally transformed the apartment. They have so much storage and cleaner now. And then he and his wife decided to stay back in the city because they love staying in the city. And
absolutely, one small tweak changes
Yeah.
everything. Like I learned so much from this channel. So for you out there listening, watching, please go to Colin's channel. It's just a wealth of information. You discovered how people cook, and that's why they design the way they cook, and how people store their books or their belongings. I was like, oh, you can store it there? I was like, wow, it's amazing. And I was just mentioning to you, the guy changed the wall, the texture of the wall, and he never had to buy an aircon. And the temperature is always very nice. And like, wow, I didn't know you can do that. I thought every house has to have a heater or a cooler or things like that. So wealth of information.
Yeah, I think the channel sort of offer people not just from the design perspective, but also understanding yourself. Yeah, but for me, what makes it more interesting for us is that when we started filming urban, like there's apartments in urban areas, we realized how important urban design is to impact people who live in compact spaces in the urban area. In a way, for people who live here, let's say for me, my pantry might be small, but the supermarket across the street is my pantry, you know? And I might not have a study room, but I have a freaking library. It's just like 2 minutes walk away.
Yeah.
So that kind of mindset, a lot of Japanese actually have that kind of mindset.
Yeah,
Like
because they
the city
not
is your
only
backyard. Yeah.
correct, they not only design their home, but they design the city so
Yeah.
that people can utilize stuff. So Colin, looking back now, what are the best you have so many advice on, you receive so many advice from your guests doing this video on home improvement, on home design. And what are the best advice in life that you can share with our viewers and listener? Yeah.
Life is forever evolving. Nothing stay the same. Same as your home. Nothing is called a permanent home. A lot of the time people say, oh, if you live in compact spaces, what happens when you have kids? But then you don't live in a home forever when you have kids. You move to a bigger place. But then for people who can afford it now, it can become a stepping stone. But the stepping stone doesn't mean that you are not entitled to live happily the way you want it to be. So design floor plan, that's why floor plan play an important part. So if you make the floor plan flexible, people can live the way they want to without having to knock down the wall and then redesign the whole kitchen, but rather to create a canvas. A lot of the time I'm trying to tell a lot of the architects, especially when I look at how the apartment development these days is they're trying to make the apartment looks like a hotel. So you literally can move in with your suitcase and done with it. But for me, we shouldn't do a lot of the things that what they do now, they're giving you more than enough wardrobe, more than enough storage because they think that living in a small apartment, the problem you face is storage, but not exactly true. Storage is not the biggest problem. So from our research as well through our audience, okay, storage is on the top 3, but the most important problem people have living in small spaces, they don't have a work in progress spaces. For example, when you want to dry your laundry, where do you dry your laundry? When you halfway ironing your shirt, when your friends come over, where do you throw your shirt and hide everything, the mess away? Where do you do your hobbies? Where do you put your piano? Where do you do your puzzle? Where do you work from home? That kind of flexible space, which is always missing in the modern apartment, because the modern apartment, the developers will give you a floor plan where you eat, where you sleep, where you shit, where you poop. That's it. No, I remember you have shower and that's it. But sometimes they don't even have dining area for small apartments, which I find that's absolutely stupid. It's a waste of resources.
I see.
Yeah. And then when you look at every 10 years or so, people would knock down the kitchen or whatever when they want to do retrofitting an apartment. They would knock down as much as things as possible or walls, and then they throw it all away. And then if you know about how much waste and carbon footprint created through construction, all this contributed to it. Like, 1/3 of the carbon footprint in the world is through construction. So if to reduce that, we have to design a floor plan that's flexible. People can move in their furniture and then let the designer do the work, like creating rack and things that you can move away when you want to and take with you. And so in that way, all this furniture, loose furniture, you can resell them through Facebook Market. And so the sustainability comes through that, through longevity of an object. That's why 3 years ago, we created a documentary. It's called Wonderful Waste. It's a 6-part series funded by Screen Australia and YouTube together. And then they gave us the money. And then we make the documentary is about how people turning waste into building materials or furniture. They like and innovators who are turning fashion waste garments into tiles, and then you can use it on your kitchen and bathroom, and they look absolutely amazing. Plastic panels that you can use in the bathroom tiles, and a lot of waste can turn into new building materials. And then
I
also,
see.
yeah, it's on our YouTube channel. You go to Never Too Small channel, you search for Wonderful Waste series. It's at the bottom.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
I will definitely watch that after this.
Yeah.
That's definitely. I've seen people reusing stuff. I just watched the documentary. They use mushroom to replace plastic bag. Now, the other trend I want to talk to you about is the future of our home. And AI is the big word. So we are able to talk to our microwave, our chair. What do you think about all these trends that's, making our home smart, intelligent, knows what we want?
Will be part of it. I have the Siri. I don't want Siri to respond to me. She's responding to me. We have a Siri for our lighting. Then apart from that, I'm trying not to include as much. But thinking about the future of homes, right? For me, a lot of the time we talk about sustainable materials, like what I said before. Those
Yes.
are important for architects and design students because they're going to take over us. And then I feel like
Yes.
we also actually know our audience. 16% of our audience are actually architects and interior designers. It's a huge number for feel like that to watch our channel. That's why the Wonderful Ways is sort of cater for them. But at the same time, we know there's a huge number of DIYer like myself who is not trained, but we love design. We know that there are other designs, different way of thinking that is much more efficient in terms of thinking of the home of future. For example, we love to put the responsibility of recycling to the end user. So if you buy a piece of furniture, when you don't want it, you throw it away when it's broken. But then when you throw it away, that's the consumer's responsibility, how to recycle and throw it. But then if you're thinking, if from the very beginning of the process of the design, the designer think of how can we prolong the use of that furniture when the person no longer want to use it. For example, if I design a chair, it can be a chair. But one day I don't want that chair anymore. What can I do? Maybe the chair can just do another like
Function.
function, bedside table, for example. So it has
Mm.
another purpose. A chair can turn into a storage. It can be
A
a
new
purpose.
life.
Yeah, giving it a new life. 2022, we did an exhibition called Multifunctional, a chair for Colin, which is a multifunctional chair. So the conversation is I get 6 designers from Melbourne and architects to design a piece of multifunctional chair through a piece of plywood. The beauty of plywood is it's a cheap material. It's not expensive. You
That's
can
right.
get it anywhere. And then it has this debate about whether it's sustainable or not. But then if you design it the right way, it can last for a long time, the usage. And then the beauty is I designed it on a piece of plywood, which is 1.2 meters times 2.4 meters. How much you have for a designer to design is that after they design, all we need is to cut out through CNC machine. So it's basically like a cutter and cut it out and put it together. It's a multifunctional piece. So in that way, in the future, when someone in London design the chair, all we need is the file, and then we get the local CNC maker to cut it out for us. using different materials. Could be a plywood or could be a recycled plastic if you're rich enough to choose it. So that's one way to look at it as well. And last year we do the same thing, but for multifunctional pet furniture, because we realized that people throw away pet furniture, only live with you 10, 15 years if you're lucky. What happened when they die? The piece of furniture usually people throw away. So if we make the pet furniture, when the pet die, it becomes like a storage for your shoes that prolong the usage. So it gives the product another life. That means it has longevity. So in that sense, for me, it's so much more sustainable than, with technology and stuff.
That's why I wanted you to be in my podcast. It's always stimulating conversation with Colin because he has done so much of the video that is so creative that it tells your audience you can have a different life than what you have now. It can be better and you don't have to spend that much money. So my last question, Colin, looking back on all the achievement you've done, my goodness, and all the creative stuff you've done, what are you most proud of when you look back, Colin?
I'm most proud of my team. I think without my team, I can't achieve anything. Yeah, we all sort of contributed ideas, even though most of the direction of the company, how Never Too Small evolve and direction is my job. But in terms of, getting the writing, someone post it online, someone edit the videos. I don't do that anymore. Usually they do it and I approve it. But then I point a direction. Our brands are forever evolving. We are very experimental. We don't stay with one style and that's forever. Because Never Too Small style, if you watch it in the early days, we are very quiet, It's very zen, very minimal, the static camera. You don't see me because I'm not a good talker. I'm not a good presenter. I'm not a good storyteller, but I'm good storytelling through films. That's my strength. I'm more like a person who asks questions. I ask stupid questions and then I would lead them where to go with the story. That's what I do. But then back in the days, I'm like, if I want to do something, I want to be minimal because back then YouTube architecture video was all about drone. Yeah. And then a lot of a big movement. And then the music is always those, what do you call it? It's almost like a very
Zen music.
orchestral. No, before
classical?
No, it's very like a Hollywood blockbuster movie music,
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Victorious, and they show the architecture. And at that time, I'm like, I don't want to do videos that everybody do. I would just do totally zen, quiet, static shot, no slider, no drone, just like static. And this is why it formed, become a style of Never Too Small. And since then, a lot of YouTube videos adopted the style. And then now we're thinking it's too much now. So we are going back to a bit more energy. And then because of how the content evolved as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same with my channel. When I started, I was talking a lot, and now people don't want you to talk that much. People want you to show you the food. And now the trend is not showing the food, but interacting with the cook, interacting with the waiter. They want that. And they want to see what the restaurant looks like, the chair, how clean it is or how dirty it is, what a character it is. It's always evolving, and that's why I love YouTube as well. Love storytelling as well. With that, thank you so much, Colin. I hope this is not the only episode. I have so many more questions that I
I have so much more to talk about, CK.
I know.
Enough time,
We will split it. We will split it into different episodes so that you can share more. And I hope you come back as a guest again. With that, thank you so much, Colin. Thank you. And thank you for all who's listening and watching. Please go to Colin's channel, Never Too Small, and subscribe, and also my channel, Psychology, and sign up for my newsletter, sign up for Colin's newsletter. If you're into architect and you want to find more ideas about your home improvement stuff. Bye. Thank you, Colin.
Bye.